Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
It's Tuesday, and that means it's Groner Day. I've got a couple of groaners to start the morning off. Here's the first one. Why is a moon rock tastier than an earth rock? It's a little meteor. I love that. Oh, and how do you know when the moon is broke? When it's down to its last quarter. Oh, groaner time. Morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Followed by a patriot. Come on, patriots, call in with our Pledge of Allegiance on a Tuesday. And a good morning to you. Thank you for being back with us today on a Tuesday, June 18th. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell, and of course with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and they've got the best of tires for your safe driving. Don't forget, too, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning again, sir.
Yes, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Wheels. And right now it's time for our weather, brought to you by K&R Rental, and they're located at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. You can't miss them. They're right on the Burley-Paul Highway, and they've got the best of tools and equipment for you to finish any job. Any job. I'm telling you, now you're out working in your gardens and you're out sprucing up your lawns and all your outdoor. You better check on the tools you need. And if you're not sure what you need, give them a call at 678-3122, K&R Rental. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It's going to be another sunny day for this Tuesday. Here's a look at your weather forecast. And yes, sunshine all day long. We are expecting a high of 83. It's slightly breezy, winds out of the southwest, right around 8 miles an hour. It's going to be picking up this afternoon, and winds could gust as high as 24 miles an hour. By tonight, nice and clear with a low of 54. Tomorrow, sunny skies. Wind is going to be the factor, with a west to southwest wind at about 20 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 30-plus miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 79. For tomorrow night, mostly clear skies with a low of 48. By Thursday, again, sunny skies. Still going to be breezy, expecting a high of 68. And by Friday, sunny and 66. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebed's Ranch.
All right, Gina, I appreciate that. Brought to everybody by K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. And again, Roger and the crew there to serve you early in the morning to help you with all the tools and equipment you need. Give them a call, 678-3122, K&R Rental. And don't forget, coming up on Thursday, the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Merv May, Cade Rogge, and Lance Udy at the sale that works for you. Sale time 10:30. Don't forget that on Thursday at Burley Livestock Sale Yard. Number to call for cattle consignments and sale information, 678-9411. Burley Livestock Sale Yard. Don't you forget, sale on Thursday. Oh, and by the way, if maybe you're just running around in circles trying to catch up with everything and haven't had time to wash your clothes, you better take the time to stop into Daryl's Cleaners. They can and will wash, dry, fold, and iron all your clothes, just like Mama used to do, and you're going to love it. It's such an easy thing to do and a great service for you at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Great dry cleaners, and they can also take care of the washing of your clothes. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see them today. We have a great program today. And I want to say a big shout out to Clark Kendall's going to be on here. We're going to be talking about socialism at 9:06. One of my very favorite people, Maria Espinoza, will be on the program at 9:30. I talked to Dr. History. He's back from his fishing trip. He's going to be here at 10:06. And then another favorite on our program at 10:30 this morning, Dan Perkins, talking about a little dicey situation over in the Mideast with more of our troops being moved over there. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Quick reminder that a company that's been in business serving you for over 6 decades. Wow. I mean, that's a long time. Providing the best in service and goods. All your heating, cooling, and electrical needs are right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. And the number to call ahead so they have what you want waiting for you on the counter, 678-0459. They're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. Absolutely the best people serving you at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
I was listening on the news that they're talking about raising the minimum wage in Idaho. They say Idaho is probably the last one or next to last one to raise the minimum wage. Well, here's my thoughts on it. I don't think there's anybody, in Burley at least, that wants a job that they would have to work for minimum wage because of the demand. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm not a big proponent of forced minimum wage increases. And when I say that, I don't like the idea that there are people saying, well, we're demanding, let's use $15 like they're talking in major parts of the country, New York, Chicago, etc. Many people are demanding $15 an hour. Well, as an employer, there's no way in the world that I'm going to be forced or coerced into giving somebody a $15 an hour wage without seeing the merits of their work and whether they really are performing. I think that merit system on, okay, Joe, you did a really good job for the last 3 weeks and we're going to increase your wages. Okay, Mary, you've done a super job and we're going to increase your wages. I think it should be employer and merit based and not forced and arm twisted by the government.
Absolutely. When I had my business running, I never did have anybody that worked for minimum wage for over 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If they didn't prove out, you can either let them go or you can pay them more money.
Well, Keith, the thing is, there's nobody in the world that's going to tell me or convince me that let's go to a hamburger stand. There's nobody that's going to convince me that these kids coming in as working entry-level jobs, first time they've ever been in the workforce, are worth $15 an hour. They're probably going to cost you at least $100 an hour with all the mess-ups and the mistakes they make. And to demand that they get a $15 entry-level wage job, that's ludicrous.
Well, let me tell you a true story.
Real fast, Keith. I haven't got a lot of time, so real fast.
Well, last year in May, when one of my granddaughters graduated from high school, she got a job at a fast food place. And I don't know that she started out at minimum wage, but now she is a shift manager, and she was only there a month before the employer could see that she was a good employee, and he did not want to lose her. So she makes pretty darn good money because she does a pretty darn good job.
Well, that's great, but when you start handing out minimum wage jobs starting at, let's say again, $15 an hour, that means that all the other employees that have been dedicated to showing up on time, working for you prior to those wage increases for the first time minimum wage, they need an increase too, and it's all retroactive to where it's going to put a lot of businesses out of business. I got to run, Keith. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget we're going to be having our lunch bunch at Denny's restaurant on the 27th. I made a mistake and said this week, no, I'm old. My mind didn't work. I didn't look at the calendar, to be honest with you. It's going to be on the 27th at Denny's restaurant, America's Diner, 611 North Overland in Burley, and they have another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. I mean, they've got so many new items on that menu. A lot of the breakfasts are changed, especially with those strawberry vanilla crepes. Oh, good. And you're going to love everything that they have, salads and the burgers and the omelets and the pancakes, everything at Denny's restaurant. Super nice people serving you at America's Diner, Denny's restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Let's not forget, too, our dear friends over at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Hello, Nick Greenwell. We were supposed to get together and be working on my legs last week. Nick got called out of the office, so we're going to reschedule and be over there again. You can bet on that. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. The number to call to help you get back to being you, 678-1171. Absolutely the finest of physical therapists with the most knowledge that they want to help you. Absolutely. Get over your aching and pain. You get a hold of them today, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Caller, good morning to you.
It's a good morning. That looks like we're going to have another major problem on our hands.
Uh-oh.
Cuomo is going to give these illegals driver's license. What comes next after that is voting fraud. These Democrats will do anything. It's just rotten to get back into power again.
Well, wait a minute, Tony. I don't want to correct you because maybe I heard a different story, but I heard it was the presidential candidate, which is not going to go anywhere, Bill de Blasio, mayor of New York, that was proposing absolute driver's licenses given to illegals. And I'm sure Cuomo and the rest of the people probably are going to follow suit. Doesn't make any difference who proposed it. It's an idiotic, stupid, anti-American idea, and it should never happen.
My God, with the millions of foreigners pouring into our country, could you just imagine the fraud and destruction that's going to come with that?
You know, Tony, I absolutely can't think of words strong enough to voice my complete displeasure with Congress and a bunch of absolute stooges that are sitting back there behind their desks and letting thousands and thousands, and it's going to turn into millions and millions of people coming into this country with no documentation, no verification of health records whatsoever. What is the matter with us, the people of the United States, that we're not outraged and saying and slamming our hand down on the desk and saying, enough, enough?
Well, football season, basketball season, these people haven't been hurt yet. And these congressmen that are sitting back doing nothing had better realize that they have children and they have grandchildren that are going to come up into a country that is full of enemies.
We're going to be seeing
a bunch of people are coming in.
I agree. We're going to be seeing the complete destruction of our society and our culture, and I'll stand toe-to-toe with anybody on that. Tony, it's always good to hear from you. Now you got my blood pressure up. Thanks, old buddy. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm going to take a pill right now.
Take two. Settle mine. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right.
All right. Bye.
Oh, Rain for Rent. Hello, Jake. Jake's over in his office right now, and they are busy. This is irrigation time. This is the time everything has to work perfectly. And that's why Rain for Rent wants to work with you at 134 South, 600 West of Paul. Jake's over there. The rest of the crew serving you. Number to call, the hotline number, 438-5065. They're a Reinke Diamond dealer, and believe me, a dedicated sales and service staff. And I mean that. Very dedicated, educated. They know everything about irrigation, and they can help you. Please get a hold of them today. Rain for Rent, 134 South, 600 West of Paul, 438-5065. Really, really good people. Oh, and by the way, puppy dogs and all your kitty cats and your animals in general that you want to keep healthy, well, you'd better be sure and call Dr. Bill and the rest of the crew over at Ark Animal Hospital. Oh, my, they care. You know, that's the big word right there. Four-letter word, easy to say, they care. Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Hayburn. And, like I said, the ticks and the flies are out there. Please, please make sure that you're cognizant of what you need to do. All your vaccination programs, you'd better call them at 678-1177. Ark Animal Hospital in Hayburn, where they have the warm hearts for the cold noses. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This is so unbelievable, and I listened carefully to the verbiage when I heard this video, and I want to throw these words out to you this morning, because this is really the push of the entire Democratic Party with a wistful wanting of impeachment of President Donald Trump. Not only an impeachment, they want an embarrassment. They want a complete destroying of Donald Trump and his administration. But Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was on a videotape, and I heard this message, and I thought, this is insanity from a former bartender with the IQ of an empty bottle of Smirnoff's, and people are listening to her. She said, and I'm quoting right now, "We need to impeach Trump now. He may have committed a crime." Think about those words. I'm going to repeat that last part again. He may have committed a crime. May have. Are we to the point in this country that we run our laws and all the punishment for deeds that are wrong on supposition and may have? In other words, what I'm saying is, all through the Mueller report, which was 2 years of wasted money and time and media, and they found nothing that was impeachable, nothing that was a crime that had to be absolutely corrected by society. And this little squirrely girl that honestly is not smart, which shows the mental capacity of the rest of the Democrats, saying we have to impeach Trump now. He may have committed a crime. Now, if that doesn't offend you out in the audience, I don't know what will. Joe Blow down the street. Oh, we got to throw him in jail. Why, he may have committed a crime. Oh, little Sarah. Oh, well, now she may have done this. We've got to punish her. May have. Nobody has any substantial evidence. The smirking little childish, impish faces of Adam Schiff and Swalwell and Pelosi and the rest of the Democrats. Ha, 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 we're going to get him. We're going to get him. He may have committed a crime. This should scare you and everybody with sane attitudes to death. We gotta get them. They may have committed a crime. Absolutely not the America that I grew up in. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I got a couple of items. Caller, I promise you're next on the list. I'll be right there. I've got a couple of things I got to remind you of real quick. First of all, guess what's coming up in a matter of weeks? It's right around the corner. The 2019 4th of July. Oh, my goodness. In Rupert, my goodness, the theme this year celebrating Independence Day. The Rupert Way, with the Grand Marshal, our friends Dean and Linda Cameron, all great people. And it's going to start on Saturday, June 29th, right there on the square with the Christmas lighting breakfast on the Rupert Square, and go all the way through the 4th of July, actually Sunday, July 7th, with more horse races at the fairgrounds. All of this and so much more for the 2019 4th of July in Rupert. Don't miss it. Going to be a lot of fun. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. Sorry to call back, but I just have to comment on AOC because they did a recent poll, and this is done by NBC or one of the other phony reporting agencies. Only 32% of the people in OAC's district would vote for her.
I think the number...
Or even begin to figure it out.
I think the number is actually a little high. I've talked to some people back in New York that think she's one of the most detestable and, quite frankly, stupid people that's ever represented anyone from the boroughs in New York. And, quite frankly, I think she's going to get beat in the next election. Hopefully. That's a prayer. Actually, that's a prayer. I'm hoping and praying that she gets beat. She's not very smart, and she's nothing more than a troublemaker.
Well, to be able to see this on an NBC or one of the other networks polls, you know, they're still in love with her, so it probably was not accurate.
Yeah.
But I hope they beat the socks off of her, because to that message that you left just a little bit ago, if he may have committed a crime, my goodness sakes.
I mean, how would you, Keith, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I got another call waiting, but, I mean, supposing somebody had said of you, well, we got to go get that Keith Cottom. Oh, we've got to go get that Keith Cottom. He may have done this. Holy cow, what kind of a society are we living in?
Well, with our social media, those things do happen.
Yeah. I got to run, Keith. Thank you for your call back. Appreciate it. Caller number 2, I'll be back with you in just a moment. I got to remind everybody about the Idaho Regatta. It's coming fast. June 27, 28, and 29, and 30th. Oh, my goodness. They're going to start on Thursday, the 27th, with the show and shine. Right there, they're all parked on the square on Rupert. Ooh, that's going to be fun watching 6 to 8 p.m. in the evening. And don't forget, on Friday, they're going to have the big boat parade in Burley. And then Saturday and Sunday, all the races right there at the Burley Golf Course Marina. Woo, baby. And I mean, some of these boats attaining speeds of up to 140 miles an hour. Oh, my. It's going to be fun watching. The IdahoRegatta.org. Go there for your tickets right now. Don't forget, get your tickets for one of the world-class events, the Idaho Regatta for 2019. Caller, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. Hey, if you'll remember right, I think I remember them, well, they were already trying to start impeachment hearings the day Trump was inaugurated.
Yeah.
I remember on Inauguration Day hearing them already calling for his impeachment.
You know, Rodney, I don't understand, honestly, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit later on this morning, but I don't understand how polls can show that Biden is ahead of Trump by 10 points, and that Bernie Sanders, wild-haired Bernie, is ahead of Trump by 9 points. How in the world can our society be so stupid? And I'm going to keep using that word, because if people are stupid enough to say we got to get rid of Trump and ignore what he's done in a short period of time with our economy and everything else, what in the world is going on here?
I don't know. I did some poll checking online, and the polls I saw showed Trump being far ahead of all the others.
Yeah, I know. I think a lot of this is the phony news media. My goodness. Rodney, hey, appreciate your call. Don't forget Lunch Bunch on the 27th, buddy. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I'll try to be there.
All right, thank you much. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Morning, and thank you for letting me announce the Burley Senior Center menu. Today it's going to be roast pork, mashed taters and gravy, mixed vegetable salad, and yummy dessert.
Now, you've got to tell me what kind of yummy dessert. Are we going to have peach cobbler with vanilla ice cream?
I think we're going to have chocolate cake.
All right, Joe.
And for $5, they can call ahead and pick up a very good meal.
All right. Well, that's over at the Senior Center on Overland, and the world's biggest cheerleader for their lunches and all the good things, Joe Taylor. God bless you, man. Thanks.
Thank you much.
You bet, sir. Joe's good old boy. Good old boy. Calls welcome 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. President Trump is kicking off his campaign today for 2020. Now, hang on, caller. I just got to make my point here real quick. And he's down in Florida, and the estimates are that there will be over 100,000 people at this rally in Florida for President Trump. I'm not exaggerating, because I was watching the news media as early as yesterday morning, and they were saying about tents being set up, and people are planning on just camping there, even though they know they can't get into the main auditorium, and the auditorium holds about 18,000 people. But they said that camping areas and all the porta potties and all the big screen TVs are going up and everything. 100,000 people are estimated to be there. And then the real bright light in the fixture at MSNBC, Joe Scarborough, came out yesterday and said, well, I just don't think Trump is aware about how powerful the Democrats are, because Trump only has a small base of people. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Well, they underestimate him, and they always will, and they have to make it look like he's struggling, and they just like the Fox News polls, which Fox used to say fair and balanced on their broadcast at the top of the hour, and now they don't say it anymore because they are no longer that way. Now, I know there's good people on the network, but the actual news broadcasts from Fox are not what they used to be. They always slip in something derogatory against Trump. And I don't know how they get compromised, but they do.
Well, wait a minute. I'm going to arbitrate with you a little bit, because you and I are good enough friends that if I don't think what you're saying is 100%, I'm going to argue with you. I disagree with you because I just heard fair and balanced twice this morning. And I'm also going to argue with you that maybe in the fair and balanced approach, and they are inviting some people like Donna Brazile, former Democratic head of the party, and others to be a part of the news, but most all the reports, with the exception of one reporter in the afternoon, and that's Shepard Smith, a man that I cannot stand, I think that most of the news reports and the reporters are extremely kind and friendly to the Trump administration.
Well, maybe I just haven't been paying attention to the fair and balanced statement. Maybe I'm a little bit cynical, but I know this: Trump polls five points low always, because nobody ever wants to admit it. Nobody's going to say it. The kind of enthusiasm down in Florida is like we've never seen. Ronald Reagan never pulled these kind of numbers. And when Trump fights back against anybody, in the liberal media or the liberals themselves, and, spars with Pelosi and Schumer, and there's such creeps. Everybody loves it, see? And the fact that he's got 100,000 people, he's like a rock star to these people.
Well, I'm interested.
Idaho,
I'm just interested, Randy, in facts. I couldn't care less about balderdash that comes out of both parties because I won't even comment on it. I'm only interested in facts. And of the people that we talked to earlier this morning at news medias back on the East Coast and emails that we've had sent to us and everything, the estimates of the numbers in Florida probably will far exceed 100,000 people that are using it as a summer experience to show their support for Donald Trump. And then for idiots, and he is, Joe Scarborough of MSNBC to say that Trump only has a small base of people, go figure.
Well, they don't ever tell the truth anyway, and they lie so much, it's scary. And again, I don't know who's listening to them. CNN, they only pull about 700,000 people.
Wait a minute. You know what you just said? You just said that CNN maybe only pulls 700,000 people. Do you realize that 1/7 of those probably are jumping over to the Trump rally in Florida?
Oh, yeah. You see, that's the thing. If you took the market share of CNN and compared it to you, for instance, in this valley, they're sucking pond water big time, and they're a joke, and they know they're a joke. And MSNBC is not much better. Mad Cow, Rachel Maddow, her numbers have dropped so significantly that you would say to yourself, well, maybe I need to rethink what I'm doing. But you see, they've already put all their eggs in one basket.
Yep.
And they can't, change now. They're hypocrites, but for some reason they couldn't start telling the truth because then it would really expose them for the whatever you call these people.
I know. I've got some names, but none of which we can put on the air. Maybe privately over a cold adult beverage. Randy, thank you so much.
Bye.
All right, buddy. I got another part of this Trump rally that I've got to share with you, but it's the other side. It's the other side, and you're not going to believe how low-classed it was. I'll share that with you in just a minute. Don't forget Berry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts. And they've got 3 locations serving you at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and the Nampa location. I mean, if you're out there a-digging and a-lifting and a-pushing and a-carrying and you need to be laying sod or grading, whatever, they've got all the tools and equipment. I mean, they've got everything right there. They've got all the Doosan loaders and excavators and all the Bobcats, the excavators, the mini excavators, the skid steers, everything. Oh, you don't know how to run them? No problemo. They will teach you at Berry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts. Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa, Berry Equipment and Rental. You stop in and see them today. Also, real quick, before I tell you this next story, I want to remind you about smelly old septic tanks. Ooh, wrinkle your nose and walk away in the breeze. Well, you got to pump them, and when you have to pump them, you want to call somebody that really does the job and does it well. Also, sewer and sink drain lines cleaned, and water and sewer lines installed, backhoe services, all of this with Dino's Septic Service. They do the job better than anybody, and they've recently expanded to serve more people. Call them today at Dino Septic Service, 436-6526 or 678-1638, and they'll show up fast, fair, friendly service. I know because they work for us. With that big truck that says smells cargo on the way, Dino's Septic Service, you call them now. Here is something that absolutely blew my mind when I heard this story. That around the country in various towns today, towns and cities, they are starting, because it's the first day that Trump is going to start his run for the 2020 campaign. They're starting the anti-Trump rallies today and the impeach Trump rallies today around the United States. Well, now listen to this. Listen to this. Fox News reporter Lawrence Jones. Now, he's a black man and a very articulate, very good reporter, fair and not biased whatsoever. I really like listening to him. He went out to a couple of these rallies to interview some of the anti-Trump folksies. And you know what they yelled at him? They yelled at him to go pick cotton for Fox. And then they yelled at him, go back to Kenya. And he was just asking questions. Now, just imagine for 10 seconds if the reverse was the fact, and that was a pro-Trump rally, and the pro-Trumpers treated someone like that. It would be all over CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, you name it. Oh, my goodness, condemning the Trump people. Why, they're low class, they're racist, we're nothing but bigots and hate mongers. Oh, but the coverage of these nincompoops at these anti-Trump and impeach Trump rallies, zip, nada. Nobody said a word that they're racist. They just let it go. This is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. You can see who the good, bad, and the ugly are. It doesn't take much to really put on your bifocals and find out how low class the left is, has been, and will be for the future. Calls welcome 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Please give me a call. I just can't believe how, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later on, but really how anyone can go to the polls and vote for Democratic leadership to take over this country, knowing what their platform, if they have a platform, knowing what their platform is and what it represents, and what it takes away. How in the world can you be duped into voting for any one of the 96 Democrats running for the presidency? I mean, the list just keeps growing, and you talk about a herd that needs culling. That's a herd that needs culling right away. I mean, Bill de Blasio, mayor of New York City, he has no business running for dog catcher. And there's a whole litany of people behind him that absolutely, they have no business muddying the waters. Of course, on the other hand, the frontrunners have no business muddying the waters. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to remind you, we're going to do a weather forecast real quick, and then I'd like you to come back on. I want to talk to you about Wascom, Texas, right after this. Don't forget Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Oh, boy, they're located right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room. And for your hearing health, I urge you to call for an appointment for a hearing screening. Absolutely, they are the best. Dr. Pickup, Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Hunsaker, they really understand hearing and how to solve hearing problems. So please give them a call for an appointment today, 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It's going to be another sunny day for this Tuesday. Here's a look at your weather forecast. And yes, sunshine all day long. We are expecting a high of 83, slightly breezy winds out of the southwest, right around 8 miles an hour. It's going to be picking up this afternoon, and winds could gust as high as 24 miles an hour. By tonight, nice and clear with a low of 54. Tomorrow, sunny skies. Wind is going to be the factor, with a west to southwest wind at about 20 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 30-plus miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 79. For tomorrow night, mostly clear skies with a low of 48. By Thursday, again, sunny skies. Still going to be breezy, expecting a high of 68. And by Friday, sunny and 66. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebed's Rain.
Absolutely. Gina, thank you. Welcome back again. And, of course, I urge you to give them a call. Mount Harrison Audiology, very, very good at what they do to help you and your hearing health. I urge you to call and make that appointment today, right now, 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The town of Waskom, Texas, the city council voted to make their city a sanctuary city for the unborn. When I heard this, I stood up and applauded. People are saying, wait a minute. We're sick and tired of hearing, reading about infanticide, basically murder of babies. And the Waskom City Council voted, and I saw the video on television, to make their city a sanctuary city for the unborn. I think this is tremendous. Many of you know that I'm extremely pro-life. And I did have a couple of people call, and they said, do you realize when you take that pro-life stance that you have on your radio program that you're alienating other listeners? Well, now, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to realize that if you take a stand on any issue, you're going to be, quote-unquote, alienating some listeners. Now, the question comes up, don't you care? No, I don't care. I'm an old man that's set in his ways. Then I use the slogan at the end of the program, the way things were or the way things ought to be, because I think we need to get back to a morality and a value system that we used to have in this country. So no, I don't care if someone's alienated because of my opinion on the radio. You can agree with me or disagree with me. That's what this is all about. That's what this show is about. But I'm certainly not going to sit there and be little middle-of-the-road Mikey. Oh, yeah, well, we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. That's not going to happen here. I am very happy and proud of Waskom, Texas, for standing up and protecting the unborn, or those, the way the Democrats want abortion, right up to birth abortions. Now, the left is burning their hair over what happened down in Waskom, Texas. They're running around in circles, kind of shrieking and waving their arms, scaring the birds out of the trees, because they don't like this. But I certainly hope that more cities and towns will adopt that attitude, that you are not going to have an abortion in our town and kill babies. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There's another story that you got to keep your eyes on today, because if you look out your window, if you live in Twin Falls, or if you live in Burley, Rupert, Boise, Idaho Falls, Pocatello, doesn't make any difference, Salt Lake City, whatever. You look out your window, you may see people, if you live in town, running around just going, screaming and waving their arms in the air like they're gone completely nuts. Well, the left is really worried about whether or not the Supreme Court is going to vote in favor of getting rid of the citizenship question on the census. But you know what? Some of the supposed insider information, now I'm not saying this is what's going to happen. Believe me, I don't know. But some of the people that I've talked to, some of the people that are fairly close to members of the Supreme Court and others with some of the leakage that goes on, some people think that that question by the Supreme Court will be allowed to stand. And if it does, it's going to be a major victory for the Trump administration and for common sense. And boy, is it going to be fun watching if all of a sudden the Supreme Court says, no, the question stays on the census. That's the way it's going to be. Ooh, there's going to be all kinds of fun at the old fire pit. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I'd love to hear from you. For those of us that have a tendency sometimes to put on weight, kind of an ugly thing to say, and you're fighting your weight, there's a new bracelet out. Now, I don't think I'm going to spend the money and buy this bracelet for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't like to wear anything except a wristwatch. And number two, this bracelet will zap you with 350 volts if you reach for a piece of pizza or a piece of cake or a Twinkie or a Snickers bar. Woo, man, don't touch it. Yeah, it's an electrical bracelet, and you set it up, and if you reach for something you're not supposed to eat on your diet, zip, it lets you hit you with 350 volts. Caller, good morning. You want a bracelet?
No, thank you, but I did want to tell you something I just found out. Several cities in America have declared themselves sanctuary cities for the unborn. A city in Texas, I can't remember the name of two of them. There's a city in Texas.
I just gave it to you, Wascom, Texas.
Yeah, and there's one in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
And also, Roswell, New Mexico is a sanctuary city for the unborn now.
And it's about high time people in communities and city councils started looking at the left and saying, get out of Dodge City. We don't like your policies. We're going to do it the right way.
Yep. If you go to Google and Google sanctuary cities for the unborn, you'll probably find more than I've uncovered already, you know.
Well,
it's nice to hear some good news for a change.
No, it is good. And the other good news would be that are you an American citizen question on the census is going to be maintained. I hope it happens. Hey, man, thank you for your call. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Here's some good news for a change.
All right, take care. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Hey, bye.
While I'm waiting for some more calls, you're welcome. I want to remind you about our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations, and they got the best doggone tires ever. That's not brag. That's a fact. They've got tires like the Open Range AT, the newest and best pickup and SUV all-terrain tires, superior braking, quiet ride. You'd better get a hold of them today and stop in there and check it out for your pickup and SUV. Many of the tires are on sale, so I urge you to go ahead and stop in at any one of the 7 locations. And, of course, check out all the brake service, the front-end alignments, the shocks and struts, and the batteries. But again, I go back to the people. I go back to the service. I go back to what they do to help you at all 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All right, I got time for a couple of calls. Give me a jingle quickly on the landline, and love to visit with you. Give me a jingle. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let me see, did I miss anything this morning that I wanted to mention? I talked to you about what happened with Lawrence Jones, the reporter at the anti-Trump movement that's going on. Let's see, what else have we got here? Biden and Sanders and the rest of the Democrats, they're all basically claiming that regardless of who runs, this is silly, regardless of who runs against Donald Trump, they're going to win. Really? I honestly think America, after they really closed the curtain at the polling places, They're going to look at the economy. They're going to look at everything else that's been done to get rid of a lot of government control in their life. And they're going to shun the Democratic Party. I remember the words of Dr. Gerard Lamero on our program when he made the predictions that this may be the time in American history where the Democratic Party is going to reach a fracturing point and break like a cheap piece of glass. We'll see. We're going to take a little break and come back with Clark Kendall and Maria Espinoza, Dr. History, Dan Perkins, a whole stable of great people. Don't you go away. And before we go quickly, I also want to remind you about the GoFundMe page for Dwayne Steiner that was in that horrendous wreck about a week ago. Go to the GoFundMe.com/Dwayne and Marianne Steiner. Please, let's help this man. He's really suffered through this accident, and he's up at St. L's right now with enormous medical bills. Please help on that GoFundMe page. We'll be back in about 7 minutes. Well, good morning and welcome back. A little breezy outside this morning, but a very pleasant morning on a Tuesday, June 18th, Zeb at the Ranch, hour number 2. And, of course, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best of driving tires for all your safe driving. And, of course, don't forget some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, Old Wheels is going to have this good word for Western Way Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Way Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Way Services is landing ahead, always at your disposal. Western Way Services.
Oh, thank you. They have been with us for a long time on Zeb at the Ranch. Western Way Services, always at your disposal. And today I want to talk about the porta potties. Yes, the porta potties, because maybe you've got a family reunion planned and you're going to have all the meats and the different dishes and, of course, all the silverware and the tables. Oh, my goodness, don't forget to get the porta potties. And maybe for the big company picnic, you're in charge of organizing everything. Oh, you better make sure you call Western Waste and have the porta potties delivered. Absolutely, they are always at your disposal. 734-6969, Western Waste Services. Before we go to our guest, I also want to remind you, too, about what's cooking every day over at Vicky's Country Gardens. My goodness sakes, the best of all your gardening plants and all the gardening know-how, everything. And every Monday at 10:30, we have a program segment called Green Thumbs, Dirty Knees, and Vicky's Country Gardens. Listen in on Mondays at 10:30, Vicky's Country Garden at 185 South, 600 West of Paul. Really a great, great lady. Real quick, too, thank you to Joel Heward, his family, and his staff for all they do for the community. All they do for the entire community here in Magic Valley. Hanson Mortuary, of course, located at 710 6th Street in Rupert. And Joel Heward and his family and staff always there to provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort. And always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. I urge you to write this number down and remember 436-5636. 436-5636, Hanson Mortuary in Rupert. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Let's go to the phone line right now, and with us is the author of the book called Middle Class Millionaire, Surprisingly Simple Strategies to Grow and Enjoy Your Wealth. I like him already. Clark Kendall, how are you, Clark?
Zeb, thank you for having me on your show. It's an honor to be
be on your show today.
Well, I've had you here one other time, and you're really a great guy, but I got to ask you, on your information sheet that was sent to me that we could talk about various items, it said, "Why is socialism so sexy?" And my retort would be, socialism is about as sexy as having a 6-inch wart on your nose. Do you agree with me?
I agree with you. No, I think what makes America great is the opportunity that anybody can be a millionaire. And, through hard work, disciplined savings, and some time, it can happen to anybody.
Well, that's all well and good, but there again, you said two words that it seems like today are shunned or swept under the carpet, and that's hard work.
Well, it's a great land of opportunity, and there is the opportunity. And financially, what I address in the book is the things that we all need to do to become that middle-class millionaire. A third of the book is basically how to accumulate funds. And we go over the simple things like the Rule 72. Whatever you divide by 72, if you earn 7.2% rate of return, it'll take you 10 years to double your money. If you only earn 3.6%, it'll take you 20 years. And so those are some of the simple strategies that we outline for the readers.
Okay, but let's break this down a little bit, Clark, and I want you to really become elaborate on your answers, because you're a very interesting person and very sharp. Why did they put this on your info sheet then about socialism being so sexy? Why is it that all of a sudden in the last 3, 4, 5 years that people are starting to lean towards socialism? It's been a absolutely faltered movement anywhere and everywhere it's been tried. It has failed. People have starved to death. People have lost their lives over it. Why is socialism rearing its ugly head here in America?
I think because in America there is a great divide between the haves and have-nots. I'll share with you a statistic of individuals who retire at 65. The average person has $250,000 in a retirement account, but the median's only $65,000. So that means half the people have less than $65,000 when they're getting ready to retire. If the average is $250,000, that means a few people have $1 million and $2 million in the IRA accounts. And so the socialism is really addressing those people who have not properly saved. I looked at Bernie Sanders released his tax returns. He's a 77-year-old man. He made $480,000. He had no distributions from his IRA account, meaning he did not save during his lifetime for retirement. He had no dividend income, meaning he doesn't own any corporate stocks. He had basically $280 in interest income, meaning he had probably $25,000 in a savings account. And on top of that, he only gave $13,000 to charities. He's one in the top 1%, $480,000 of income, yet he talks about socialism, and he owns 3 houses. So I think those are the real facts that what the socialists are going after. They don't want people to own stocks. They don't want people to be responsible for their own success and their own retirement. So those are the individuals that we have who are leading the Democratic Party.
But this is more than just one man. We've got the incompetency and the very, very low intellect of AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and you've got the bug-eyed Cory Bookers and the Kamala Harrises and everything. The entirety, and I dare you to tell me if I'm wrong, but the entirety of all the 27 or whatever possible nominees for president on the Democratic Party are all basically espousing more socialistic values, and this to me is extremely scary.
It is extremely scary. I'll share with you kind of 2 statistics. One is in a Wall Street Journal article about a month ago. They announced that all incoming freshmen at Harvard will be required to take a personal management class. I hope other universities do that. And it is a scary statistic. over 50% of Americans don't read one book a year. And I do think, not only financial literacy, but literacy throughout our country, needs to be increased so that we can stand up and basically talk and speak about what we think is right in our own country.
Well, Clark, this is so good to have you on the air this morning because we're not guaranteed anything. We're not guaranteed a tin cup that's made out of gold where all we have to do is hold that tin cup out and the government's going to fill it up with all the goodies that we want. I go back to a work ethic. I go back to teaching people that if they use the assets God gave them, they can be successful and they can attain and achieve anything they want in this life. But this generation now and the people that are teaching this generation, I'm scared to death about what's going to happen.
Yeah, here again, there are haves and have-not. There are people who work hard, who think it's a great opportunity. There are people who think that the world owes them something. I don't know. I think that probably happened for our parents' generation, our grandparents' generation. So I think we could go either way along that. Either the glass is half empty or half full. Someone came to me and said, I wish we all worked for corporations and they all gave us pension funds like my grandparents had pension funds. And I said, I think that's crazy because 20, 30 years ago I had people come in and said, I just have to work 5 or 10 more years for that pension. Today people switch jobs.
Yeah.
And they reinvent themselves at 50 and 60 years of age. And I think it keeps them young and vibrant. They learn new skills and talents. I graduated from college in 1983, and I wrote my term papers on an electric typewriter. Thank God I continued to reinvent myself and to learn new skills and talents. And I see enormous opportunities in the future.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Absolutely couldn't agree more. But I'll go back to what it also says on your info sheet, and I really want to talk about this morning. We are not, and when I say we, I think it's our generation's fault and others, we're not teaching kids of today in high school and college and whatever really about financial literacy. Would you agree with that?
I completely agree with that. I think it's, as I said, the Harvard example is a great example. They're making a move in the right direction. Within the book, I showed an example of I have 4 children, and every year for Christmas, I gave them $500 worth of stock as their stocking stuffer. When they were young, they would throw the stock certificate to the side. But once they graduated from high school, he came back to me and goes, Dad, those little stocking stuffers have added up to real money.
Mm-hmm.
They have the education of the prudence of saving and investing and what a difference it makes long term in my children's lives. But I think it takes a village to raise children, not only from a financial perspective, but in so many other perspectives also. So I think in the book we outline some different types of strategies that we can teach our children.
Well, share with me one of those strategies, if you will, and explain to me how we can change the educational process right now today to be more incorporate of teaching people how to be good money managers and be good fiscal managers.
Well, one of the most important things I teach is I made sure all of my kids had what I call crap jobs. And crap jobs is everything from bussing tables to cleaning out stalls, so that they can appreciate, hard manual labor. So I think that is so important. I also, for my children, I did not simply let them buy any clothes they wanted or, we didn't pay for their friends' birthday presents. We gave them an allowance that included their clothes budget, included their movie budget, and so they had to budget, how they were going to spend money. They couldn't just go through the candy aisle at the grocery store and say, Mom, I want a candy bar. We said, well, you're responsible for that candy bar. And, and Mom, I want to get my friend, XYZ toy for his birthday, for the birthday party we're going for. We said, you've got to decide that's got to come out of your monthly budget. And I think those combinations of teaching people, just unlike the federal budget, we don't have unlimited funds to spend on anything. And I think the sooner we teach our kids that, the better they are.
Absolutely. We've got a caller with a question. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Quickly, please.
Well, if we heard more responsible talk out of our elected officials, about the budget and the fact that it's not an unlimited supply of money at the federal government at all. In fact, the children don't understand debt. They don't understand what $1 trillion is. They don't understand work. Their parents aren't raising them. The parents aren't even reading books, I'm afraid. It's a scary scenario. And, I don't know how bad it has to get before there's a crisis and all of a sudden people decide to wake up. And I don't know where that is. But, I have a saying, Christ is not going to come and clean up our mess, and he may not come for 100 years. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller, please, Clark, if you would.
Yeah, as far as it is a dilemma that we are running a federal deficit, and I don't know when our day of reckoning is going to come, but I do think it's a great worry. I did attend the CFA conference, Chartered Financial Analyst Conference in London, England, in May, and there was portfolio managers from 57 countries throughout the world, and it was the week of, we just imposed the Trump-China trade tariffs, and the majority of the investment community outside the United States applauded what President Trump was doing as far as standing up to China. They said they were quite happy because they said, China's stealing your trade secrets and your intellectual property, and they're stealing ours also. So it was very interesting as far as kind of what's going on. And I think that is a step in the right direction, that if we want to be the world, policeman, we've got to set the standards of how not only to manage our own budget, but also how to treat others fairly in the business world, not only domestically, but also internationally, and to stand up when people are treating us unfairly.
Clark, in your book, and I wished I had a copy of it right here in front of me, but in your book, do you basically gear most of the book towards a certain segment or a certain age of our population? Tell us how you constructed the book and who you really wanted to talk to.
Well, that's a great question. Thank you for asking me that. A third of the book is how to accumulate funds. A third of the book is for the 50, 60-year-olds, the individuals who want to retire, and they're worried, do I have enough money to retire? Because, at 60 years of age, your life expectancy is still 25, 30 years. And when do I take Social Security? For example, full retirement, if you take Social Security before full retirement, your benefits are reduced by 8% per year. You can wait until age 70, and every year you wait past age 70, it increases by 8% per year. The sad statistic is a third of Americans take Social Security at 62, less than 8% wait until age 70. And then the last third of the book is for the retirees, the people who have retired. When do you spend money out of the IRA account? How do you gift to your children and grandchildren? How do you give to charities? What's a qualified charitable distribution from an IRA account, and how to take full advantage of that? The tax laws have changed where we've increased the standard deductions, and for people with large retirement accounts, it does make sense that if they're gifting to charitable organizations to do that directly from an IRA account. And so we go through those what-if scenarios. But probably the most important thing, there's probably about a dozen experience share stories where we have people and how they've implemented this on an individual basis. time and time again.
What about people like myself? And there's another category I want you to address. I'm past retirement age, and I love working. I own this program, and I put together this business that's lasted for the last 20 years out of my home. As a matter of fact, that's where my studio is located. What about people that don't want to retire and they still want to keep working? What about their financial futures?
Well, I think their financial futures are wonderful. You know, if you read the Bible, nowhere in the Old Testament or the New Testament does it say we should retire at 65 at all. So I think the whole concept of Social Security and retirement, which was put together by Roosevelt, is historically relatively a new concept. But I do think, you know, we can address that issue at some point in time. If you have enough money that to live the rest of your life comfortably, you're really working for your children or charities. Experience share story, back in the mid-'90s, I had a 90-year-old client with $6 million, and at the time the Dow Jones was probably 7,000. Alan Greenspan was talking about irrational exuberance, but we had this 90-year-old woman with $6 million, which would be $20 million today, 90% in stocks. And she goes, I got her to go, do you think we're overweighted in stocks? And she goes, listen here, Sonny, I did collect and accumulate $6 million buying CDs and treasuries. And the second thing is, I don't think I'll ever be able to spend $6 million. You're really investing in it for my children and grandchildren.
Right.
And I think they should continue to be invested in stocks. And I was like, that's enormous wisdom from a 90-year-old woman to, at the time, I was about a 30-year-old young man.
Absolutely.
So, those are kind of the experience shares within the books that we go over, addressing these issues and how people implement it.
Well, tell me, Clark, quickly and for my audience, the book Middle Class Millionaire, Surprisingly Simple Strategies to Grow and Enjoy Your Wealth. Where can we get it?
Of course, you can get it. It's released today on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Target. You can also go to KendallCapital.com/books, and you can order it directly from our publisher.
I tell you what, you got to promise to come back in the future, because I enjoy talking to you, a great money strategist, and I appreciate your comments. Clark Kendall, the author of this new book, Middle Class Millionaire. We'll look for it in all the stores. Thank you for being on the program.
Thank you, Zeb, for having me. It's been a great honor.
All right, sir. God bless. Thank you very much. Nice man, a very, very articulate and smart man when it comes to money matters, and I'll reiterate the name of that book. It's Middle Class Millionaire, Surprisingly Simple Strategies to Grow and Enjoy Your Wealth. And the author's name again, Clark Kendall. Thank you, Clark. Appreciate it. Got to pay some bills here right now, and I want to remind you first and foremost, tomorrow at 10:06, don't forget our segment with Sportsman's Warehouse. Oh, I love that segment. And tomorrow it's going to even be longer segment with Josh Anderson, the Old Fishing Hole, brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse, and that, of course, at 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. We're looking forward to it. Anything and everything you need for outdoor sports and fun, fishing, hunting, you name it, Sportsman's Warehouse. Don't forget that tomorrow morning. And also a big shout out to the Idaho Regatta. I keep reminding everybody that that is right around the corner there. Go to the corner. Peak, there it is, and it's going to be June 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th, right there at the Burley Golf Course Marina. Oh my goodness, starting on Thursday the 27th with the show and shine on the square in Rupert, and then on Friday the big boat parade in Burley, and then of course don't forget Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, all the racing on the river. I'm telling you, it's going to be a lot of fun. Idaho Regatta is well known as one of the greatest boat races anywhere in the country, and they're going to bring in some boats that can attain speeds of up to 140 miles an hour. Woo, baby! Get your tickets now, and for the veterans and seniors 62 and over, at the gate, show a valid ID to receive a discount of only $10. I don't want you to miss the Idaho Regatta for 2019. Going to be a dandy. Let's see. Oh, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. I know that Deanne said she talked to Jeff yesterday. Oh, it was LeGrand. I think she said she talked to LeGrand. And LeGrand was telling her about At Least Furniture, Floors and More. They're having a summer clearance on mattresses and recliners and just tons and tons of great deals at Least Furniture, Floors and More. And they've got all the floor coverings, and they've got the luxury vinyl planks, the LVPs, and a closeout on some of the carpets. Oh, my goodness, you better get in there today and save money. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. 459 Oberlin in Burley with Jeff and the entire crew serving you. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. You know, when it comes to being outside, I honestly have thought many, many times if you could depend on the weather with all the exertion that it would take to move all this equipment and everything outside, I'd go out on my sun deck. I just can't stand being cooped up inside a building. And that's why when I talk about our friends over at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, they're my kind of people. Get outside and enjoy. Get on a watercraft and hit the lakes and the rivers, or get on a side-by-side in a four-wheeler and hit the hills and the trails. Oh, boy. They're located, like I said, easy to find, right there at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, and they've got a showroom filled with fun. Oh, my goodness. Stop over and check out all the great buys. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 4. Let's ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, where the fun is sold. Absolutely. We're going to go now to a lady that has been on my program many, many times in the past, and I hope that she will consent to coming back on our program many more times in the future. She's extremely knowledgeable and knows all about what's going on with illegal aliens and the immigration flawed system that we have. She is the National Director of the Remembrance Project, and I say good morning to a wonderful lady, Maria Espinoza. How are you?
I'm doing great. Battling allergies, Zeb, but I'm hanging in there.
You know, I'm so glad to hear you say that, because occasionally you might hear me, and I hate to sound crass, sneeze or cough, and so we're both on the same page.
Oh, my goodness, we are, but, you know, it's not going to stop us, and we're going to dive right into this whole national emergency and border crisis that the Democrats refuse to listen to or believe. You know, they can't make up their minds whether they're for a border security or against it, whether they're for putting the money where it needs to go to keep our country safe, our children safe, our community safe, or not giving this president $1.
Well, Maria, you are rubbing elbows with these people all the time, these people being the left and the liberals, and even some Republicans that are just dragging their wingtip shoes, not doing anything. What's going on? Why? I don't understand why America and Americans are subjected to this problem getting worse every day. Why?
Right, you know, and that's a big question, but, you know, spending time these last 2 years in Washington, D.C., right there by the swamp, you know, you really learn a lot. And we've met some wonderful people, but also we realized that, you know, everything that we thought, was happening is absolutely happening, taking place, and it's actually worse because, you know, they let's say all your listeners out there, you receive your newsletters from the congressman, and you know, it's all flowery and good and all talking about the conservative things he's doing for this country. But I hate to tell you, but it's all lies. You know, we're being lied to. The media is against anything that's pro-American, anything that's supporting our Constitution. And, you know, these far-left liberal socialists, as you see now, they're really coming out of the woodwork and attacking this president. Why? Because he has America at his heart and first and foremost. And, you know, they want to keep those cush jobs. They want to be treated like royalty. You know, Zeb, you know, these are congressmen and or state reps even, mayors. They want to keep those cush jobs, and they obtain donations from their far-left liberal donors to fill their campaign coffers, to keep them in office. And all the while, we're left holding the bag. We're left holding the bill for higher taxes. In our case, with the Remembrance Project, these are grieving families that are left with so many unanswered questions as to why was this illegal alien released time and time again after he was convicted of a crime and not deported, released into the community to have access to their loved ones. So I think it's a lot to do with selling out treasonous characters, selling out the American people, but also you have a very liberal agenda here that has hijacked the Democrat Party. And believe me, they're not stopping. They see blood in the water, and if we don't get busy, we're going to lose our republic.
Maria, I'm going to say this, and please, we're good enough friends that you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I have talked to many of the Border Patrol agents that I know in the Arizona and Texas locations, and their numbers are telling me that we were told maybe hundreds of thousands would come in this year, maybe hitting the million mark. And now from conversations that I'm talking with these people, they told me, Zeb, don't stop at 1 million. We could see the numbers being exaggerated even higher to over 1 million to maybe 1.5 million or more people coming into our country, and the American taxpayers on the hook for the dime.
Absolutely. I'm looking in I read 1.2 million to 1.5 million illegal aliens here, and this is just this year. And that's not to mention the number of illegal aliens who are already here, which can be 25 up to 30 million.
That's right.
Illegal aliens. Look, we, here in the United States, 19% of the El Salvadorian country live here. And Guatemalan cities are vacated, and these young men are leaving their families, leaving their women and children home to tend to the work there, leaving their families and coming here and establishing a new family here in the United States. And they're not going back. We give them a job, we give them health care, any medical attention they need, social benefits. Why should they go back? They like it here. But they don't want to follow our laws. They don't want to follow our U.S. Constitution. They don't know the language. But yet, how can anyone say that this is going to be a better place for them if you put aside those benefits that they receive? Because, again, they love their country. Look at those flags that you're seeing them carrying in those caravans. They love their country, but why are they coming here? Take advantage of the American taxpayer.
Absolutely. And over at the station, Wheels, my engineer, when she's talking, please turn her up just a little bit in my headsets, if you would. Maria, let me ask you this. I'm scared of the health care issues. I'm going to call them health scare issues because we're hearing everything from scabies to measles to mumps to influenza. And now I'm really shocked that the people that are coming in from Africa, no checking, no documentation, nothing, and we may be seeing the Ebola virus just waltz right across our borders. Am I way too off on this, or do you agree with me?
No, I absolutely agree. The CDC, however, is helping out there in the Congo with their Ebola outbreak as we speak, and that's the second largest Ebola outbreak in history. Yes, they're coming here. And, the agents and the EMTs there, they have contracted nurses and doctors, but they just do a very mild checkup on these illegal aliens. And then if it's bad enough, they take them to the hospital. And, here the agents are spending 40% of their time transporting these illegal aliens to their doctor's appointments. The cursory exam that they're making on these illegal aliens before putting them into their detention centers, it is very cursory. That's it. But these agents are all around them, and they're wearing masks and gloves. But they're fearful that they're going to contract some sort of disease and take it home to, their children, their families, their young children and the elderly. There is an agent also mentioned that, his nightmare is having to arrange funeral arrangements for the border agent's family members, like a 3-year-old, because that's bound to happen with all the diseases that are coming through and that were eradicated decades ago in the United States. This is a very serious problem, yes.
Maria, there's a woman, and I just absolutely have nothing good to say about her, and I find her to be destitute of any knowledge, destitute of anything as far as political savvy, and destitute of anything that is of common sense. And I'm referring to, she's turned 30 now, but a 30-year-old former bartender that seems to have led the Democratic Party by a ring in their nose right to the edge of a cliff, and I'm talking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. This woman scares me because of her stupidity and incompetency of knowing what's going on the border. What are your thoughts?
I absolutely agree. She needs to go to the border and stay there for a month or two. I wish that every single politician on every level of government would spend a month or two at the border so they could really have an idea the reality that our border agents are going through and what they are seeing. I'm sure that they would be shocked, but they don't want to know, Zeb. They don't want to know. They want to sit in their cush jobs, air-conditioned, safe, with the security detail around them, behind their gated communities, and sit and make policies that they don't even want to follow. But yes, this woman, but it gives you an idea, though, how dumbed down some Americans are. They have no idea what they're talking about. She doesn't even follow our U.S. Constitution. She's talking about impeachment and hammering on that, but yet, and there was something that ridiculous that she recently said, and I can't remember which ridiculous statement she met recently. But, she's way out in left field.
Well, I pardon my interruption, Maria, but I can tell you one of the dumbest things I ever heard her say, and I just got it last night off a video. She sat there and she was looking at the camera and she said, "Why, we have to impeach Donald Trump right now. He may have committed a crime. May have. Are we going to start impeaching and putting people in prison or taking them out of office for a may have?"
Well, she is in left field, absolutely. You're right. I think the last thing that I heard her say was that the Border Patrol agents were killing these children. The detention centers were concentration camps.
Oh, my.
This is... her middle name is outrageous, and I think she does that for publicity.
But, there again, let me ask you this question, because you're with a very solemn group, if you will, the Remembrance Project, and the families that you work with have suffered by illegal aliens doing harm and criminality to these families. And why can't politicians, just with an honest appraisal of what's going on, like her and Pelosi and others, why can't they see the hurt? Why can't they see the pain? Why can't they see that our borders are so porous that we American citizens as taxpayers, we don't have any protection?
Well, because they choose not to see that, Zeb, because they choose to run away from the angel mothers, just like former Speaker Paul Ryan did. He knows that he's not going to vote the right way to protect American children. He knows that, so he doesn't want to see that. He wouldn't even come out and give his condolences to these 4 angel mothers and an angel family member 2.5 years ago. When we went to his home, hot summer, the mothers were wearing their memorial T-shirts and carrying the banners of their children. He wouldn't even step out of his home, air-conditioned home, where his family was safe.
Oh, my.
And where the security detail was around his home, too, and protecting him. He cared nothing for offering his condolences and for our families. that tells you where we are in this country.
Absolutely. Maria, we have a caller with a phone call. Go ahead. You're on the air, please.
Well, I just read an article recently called The Myth of the Otherwise Innocent Illegal Alien. And it just goes through everything, and it's all facts, and nobody cares. And it's a shame, and it's scary, and somehow we've got to get a handle on this. It just can't be ignored anymore, and Donald Trump gets no help. He gets no help from even the Republicans, only a few. The rest of them are gutless, even some of our own here in Idaho, who make me sick. You know, speaking of politicians who don't know anything, who've never worked a day in their life, who've become millionaires, Bernie Sanders, Zeb's previous guest exposed him. He wouldn't have a thing. He wouldn't even have a thing if he wasn't for him benefiting from being a politician who now is a millionaire and has 3 homes and talks about, you know, communism or socialism. And he's benefited from capitalism his whole life because he is a politician. It's such a crock. You get sick of it. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller quickly, if you would.
Yes, you know, he's feeling the frustration just like everyone else is, Zeb. And the answer is, and we can talk about all these statistics and everything that's going on, but if we don't have the solutions and the answers, then what good is it? So it's not enough to listen to great radio shows like yours and sitting in meetings and educating ourselves. This is what we need to do. First of all, you must have your elected officials' phone numbers in your phone and call them often, every level of government now. And feel free to call across state lines as well. But we have to organize, meaning we have to identify those good candidates within our circle who we know are good candidates and can trust them, and have them run for office. Whatever office it is, the school board is very important as well. They're after our children. You know, the left has their left liberal tentacles into those schools and into our children and polluting their minds. So run for office and support those candidates in every way. Block walk, make phone calls, certainly donate to their campaigns. This is the only way that we can beat them, because there are sellouts out there. Like I just mentioned, former Speaker Paul Ryan is a perfect example. We had the House, we had the Senate, we had an America First president, and they did nothing but sit on their hands. They were a failure, in my opinion.
Let me ask you real quick, Maria, before I have to let you go because of time constraints. State of California wanting to provide health care to the illegal aliens. Bill de Blasio, not the brightest bulb in the fixture. New York mayor says, oh, yeah, we'll give them all driver's licenses. This is complete insanity, and it seems like the liberals are winning.
Well, they're running for office, and they are winning in that respect. And also, you have the entire media, mainstream media, on their side, and people have no clue of what they're listening to. They're busy watching, I don't know if Dancing for the Stars is still on, but instead of educating themselves and reading the Constitution, learning what your rights are, our freedoms, our liberties, understanding that socialism is bad. All you have to do is look at Venezuela. There are so many bad things going on here that we're inundated. You have the UN, you know, again, tentacles into our country. We need them out of the country. So pick your topic, educate yourself on that. Pick the one you're most compassionate and passionate about, because that's where you're going to do the best. You're get in the fight and show up to other groups' events as well. I know we're tired in the evening, but you know what? It really means a lot to that event coordinator, because they're fighting as well. So, you know, and continue praying. This is a spiritual war. Continue your prayers for our president, for our country, for the Remembrance Project and our families, and keep up the fight. We can win this. We're the scrappy Americans, just like Donald Trump, that no one thought that he would win, but he pulled it off. But he needs our help.
One real quick thing I want you to discuss real fast. I've got 2 minutes left. Talk a little bit about the Remembrance Tour that's going to be going on around the United States.
Yes, well, we mainly in Texas, but we are in different states. We have already been to Pennsylvania, Florida. We're going to Washington State, Washington, D.C. We're having a vigil and a prayer for the country, a salute to America as well, July 3rd. But we will have it on our website probably today here. But we want to share the word. We have to be out where the people are. You know, the media doesn't give us a fair shake, mainstream media. And we want to be there and answer the questions because we have knowledge. We want to be able to share this information. If we don't have the answer, by golly, we're going to do what we can to find that answer for you. But we don't want people to forget what we're fighting for, and that is our children's future, our American family. We have to come first and foremost.
Absolutely. Love this lady on the program. She's the national director of the Remembrance Project, and she's been so faithful to coming into this program on numerous occasions. Maria Espinoza, God bless you for what you're doing, and thank you for your time this morning.
God bless you too, Zeb, and thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you very much. A wonderful lady, and believe me, anytime and every time she wants to come on our program and talk about the absolute idiocy of what's happening or not happening on our borders, she's more than welcome. This is a problem that has got to be stopped. I mean, just this morning I was hearing about all the other diseases that are coming in, and the scare with Africans coming in now on the southern border, and we don't know about their exposure to that deadly Ebola virus. We don't know anything about these people, and we're subjecting our country, our kids, and our future to the idiocy of the Democratic Party. Right now, let's go to a weather forecast, and the weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. They have been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. Absolutely the best. The professionals that are serving you. Tax return preparations, tax planning, business consulting, financial statement preparation, retirement planning. The list goes on. And they serve anybody and everybody, families, businesses. They want to make sure it's your money, and they want to help you with the management of your money. And that's, of course, Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. I urge you to give them a call with offices in Burley and Rupert. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It's going to be another sunny day for this Tuesday. Here's a look at your weather forecast. And yes, sunshine all day long. We are expecting a high of 83, slightly breezy winds out of the southwest, right around 8 miles an hour. It's going to be picking up this afternoon, and winds could gust as high as 24 miles an hour. By tonight, nice and clear with a low of 54. Tomorrow, sunny skies. Wind is going to be the factor, with a west to southwest wind at about 20 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 30-plus miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 79. For tomorrow night, mostly clear skies with a low of 48. By Thursday, again, sunny skies, still going to be breezy, expecting a high of 68. And by Friday, sunny and 66. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebedee Branch.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to you by our friends at Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. Accountants that have been serving this area for well over 50 years, and they'd like to serve you, Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. You know, I want to say that it's easy, and I do it all the time, to denigrate and, quite frankly, damn the Democratic Party. But on the other side of the fence, we've got a lot of Republicans that absolutely are doing nothing. Nothing. And they should be ashamed of themselves. I get so sick and tired. You get them in the mail. I get them in the mail. I get the emails and everything from various congressmen and senators that'll say, well, I've done this, and I've done that, and I support this. I couldn't care less about the I situation. I want to hear the we's. I want to see and hear about where they form power groups. And we are trying to get this done. We are going to try to stop the invasion at our border. And both parties, Republican and Democrat, aren't worth their salt. Absolutely not doing the job for the American people. I condemn both of them. Don't forget our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Life insurance, health insurance. I mean, really, you want to make sure you're protected. You want to make sure your family's protected. You want to make sure your business is protected. Well, then you need to take this number down and call them for an appointment today. 436-4424. Absolutely devoted and dedicated to serving you and very responsive to your needs. Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Easy to find right there on Highway 24 going into Rupert. And I urge you to talk to the pros. Cameron and Siemens Insurance in Rupert. 436-4424. You call for an appointment today. What do we got cooking here? We have, coming up in a few minutes, and I know he's here because he's talking to Deanne in the outer room, we've got the great Dr. History back from a little vacation. And then at 10:30 this morning, we're going to be talking to nationally recognized expert on foreign policy and energy. Dan Perkins is going to be on the program. Dan's always welcome here. So that's what's coming up over the next hour. And I want to remind you again, Lunch Bunch is not, N-O-T, not going to be this Thursday. It's going to be next Thursday on the 27th. Yours truly made a faux pas, bad mistake, and I looked at the calendar wrong, so it's going to be on the 27th at Denny's in Burley, 611 North Overland, and of course we're going to be over there for Lunch Bunch, and I really urge you to be in attendance because we're going to have a special Lunch Bunch. Deanne and I and Denny's are going to give you a little something extra, so everybody try to be there at 11:30 on the 27th. At Denny's, America's Diner for Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Okay. I've got to visit with Dr. History for a little bit and talk about our program, and we urge you to have a good day. It is a little breezy, but not unpleasant at all. Enjoy your day. We've got another hour to go. I'll be back after the CBS News. Oh, good morning again. Hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch, and I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best of safe driving tires. For wherever you're going, you be sure and stop in and see them today, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Real quick, I want to remind you, your electronics headquarters, and Dr. History, you need to pay attention to this. They've got everything at Patterson's, 421 East Main in Burley. I mean, you're looking for a home theater system? Got it. All there. You're looking for a new TV? Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, etc. They've got it. Right there. You're looking for car stereos and speakers, complete sound systems, video surveillance cameras. Got it. All right there at Patterson's. 421 East Main in Burley. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. Really nice people serving you, Curtis and Lorena and the rest of the staff at Patterson's. 421 East Main in Burley. Call them at 678-6997. Whoa, he's back. Ladies and gentlemen, from an excursion into the wilderness, where he used a machete to break through the heavy vines and protect his family from the wild, here's Dr. History.
Thank you, Zeb, for that exciting introduction.
Wasn't like that, though, was it?
Not quite.
Did you fall off the three-wheeler?
Four-wheeler.
Well, they used to make them three.
I know, yeah. No, we had a great time. Henry's Lake, Island Park, some of them went into Yellowstone, West Yellowstone. Had good weather. Had a good time. It was good
weather.
It was nice up there this year. Yeah.
And that was for Father's Day weekend.
Yeah, we had a good time. And
your family all chipped together and bought you what, a round-trip ticket to where?
I don't know yet. Maybe
it was a one-way ticket.
Yeah, might be a one-way. Yeah.
What are we going to talk about?
Okay, Zeb, when I say the word rendezvous, what comes to your mind? What place?
Honestly, I'm thinking of over in the Montpelier area.
Okay. That's
You're in
one.
Idaho.
Okay,
Yeah.
nope. Another one.
Up in the Grace area.
How about Jackson Hole?
That was my next choice.
Okay. You can say that now.
Well, seriously, though.
Oh, yeah.
When you're going over to Preston, and I used to announce that rodeo for years.
Yeah.
Just before you make the last curve going up that highway into Preston, there's a big rock on the side of the road, and it talks about the rendezvous and everything.
Yeah, and there were and we'll talk about that, but there were rendezvous all over, actually.
Yeah, there were.
But we're going to talk about the Jackson Hole area. And, when you have a rendezvous in about 1825 to 1840, it was held at different locations by the fur trading companies. There were trappers, mountain men, and they sold their furs and hides, and they replenished their supplies. That was kind of the give and take, where you made your money and then you got supplies for the next year. But the large fur companies put together teamsters driven with mule trains that packed the essentials, whiskey and supplies, into a pre-announced location each spring and summer, and set up this trading fair. So like a great big flea market, I guess, in a way.
I got a question for you, though.
Okay.
All right, all these people were so independent, and all of these people, whether it was Jeremiah Johnson or whomever, they all lived basically as single entities out in the wild.
A lot of them did, yeah.
How did they know where to go?
Somehow in the course of their travels, they would meet people and say, hey, the rendezvous is going to be here or there. So somehow the word got out, and everybody knew where to go.
And the next question I got for you, omnipotent overseer of knowledge historically, how did they know the date on the calendar without having calendars?
Zeb, when you're a mountain man, you know the exact day.
You washed on that one.
I don't know. They just knew. What can I say? But the rendezvous was at the season's end. They packed furs out. Normally the British companies, they would take theirs to Fort Vancouver in the Pacific Northwest, and to one of the northern Missouri ports, such as St. Joseph, Missouri. So the furs went either south, to St. Louis, or northwest over to Vancouver to the Pacific. So the rendezvous were known to be a very lively, happy place where all were allowed. Everybody was allowed to come in.
You're being kind.
Yes. But you had the free trappers. You had the trappers that worked for the companies. You had the Indians, of course. You had the native trapper wives and children, travelers, and later on, get this up, even tourists would venture out even from as far as Europe to observe these rendezvous. And I had never thought of that before, that they would actually come to watch.
Now, what time of the year was the most, was it in the summer?
I believe it was in the summer, and I could never find like an exact time.
Okay.
But James Beckworth, he describes this, and I'm going to quote, he says, mirth, songs, dancing, shouting, trading, running, jumping, singing, racing, target shooting, yarns, frolic with all sorts of extravagances that white men or Indians could invent. So it was just a good old time,
How long was the rendezvous?
I'm not sure of that either, but I'm thinking it was around 2 weeks.
Really?
As I recall,
Okay.
yeah. But, and actually rendezvous, they're still celebrated, even today as gatherings of some of these clubs and people from all walks of life. The fur trading rendezvous are celebrated by traditional black powder rifle clubs all over the United States and Canada.
Well, right here.
They get together. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And, I'm sure back in those days they just pinged them on their smartphone and let them know when it was.
Let them know where. But, these gatherings range from small gatherings that are sponsored by local clubs here, like you said, in this area, to large gatherings.
Have you been to one?
Yes, I have.
I have too.
Yeah.
I have too. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. There's another one called the Pacific Primitive Rendezvous that's supposed to be kind of a big one. And I tried to find information on that, but I'm not sure where that actually takes place. But anyway, same thing. These gatherings include the same activities centered around shooting of muzzle-loaded rifles, trading guns and shotguns, the throwing of knives and tomahawks, and archery, cooking, dancing, singing, telling of stories.
One thing you don't want to do is go to a rendezvous with George Montgomery. And let him load the gun that you're going to shoot in the shoot-off contests.
Might be a little hot.
Let me just say that George overdoes the powder and delights in seeing 5'11", 220-pound people blown back on their butt.
Okay, I won't ask who that is, but
I told you, it's George Montgomery.
No, but actually on these rendezvous, even now, you'll still have Indians, people that are kind of frontiersmen, and even free trappers now, including soldiers. So. But I'm going to talk about Jackson Hole because that's kind of close to where we were. But, if you think of the many really beautiful spots in the Rocky Mountains, Jackson Hole, beautiful mountain valley, lies in the shadow of the Teton Range there in northwestern Wyoming. I mean, it's just a beautiful place. But it's not only a great scenic treasure, but also an important early center of the mountain fur trade and even exploration of the far west. Now, Jackson Hole was... we call Salt Lake City the crossroads of the West. Jackson Hole is considered the historic crossroads of the Western fur trade. And it offered the only really good route across the Rocky Mountain barrier. And further, it was the focal point of a region because of the beaver streams, which were highly prized. And here the trappers' trails converged from many directions, kind of like the spokes of a great wheel. So if you can imagine Jackson Hole and 100 miles anywhere in any direction comes back to...
That's almost right here.
Yeah.
Pretty close, I mean, as far as...
And they did. They trapped down here, Fort Hall and along the Snake River.
Well, a lot of the fur traders, that's a new word, by the way, they actually traveled through the Snake River Canyon.
Oh, yeah, they did. So they were all over this area. But, like I say, within 100 miles of Jackson Hole was a pretty popular area. Yeah. And after Lewis and Clark, the most important trader explorers came through Jackson Hole on their journeys. And later, this valley, rich in furs itself, was crossed and recrossed, trapped, and repeatedly by the famous companies. Now, the Madison River, I'm going to kind of give you a little geography here to try to picture Jackson Hole. So, the Madison River flows north to merge with the Gallatin and the Jefferson rivers at what they call Three Forks to form the mighty Missouri River. And those waters, we know, reach the Gulf of Mexico after a journey of about 4,000 miles. Now, the Yellowstone River flows in a generally northwesterly direction into Yellowstone Lake, and Yellowstone Lake is huge. Have you ever seen Yellowstone Lake?
Yes.
It is huge.
And they say, is that the lake that they don't know how deep it is?
I'm not sure about that, but I know it's just, when I've seen it, you can't hardly see across it. So anyway, Yellowstone Lake, then it makes a big sweep in a general northeasterly direction before it joins the Missouri. So now you've got four major rivers that flow into the Gulf of Mexico. Now, the Shoshone and the Wind rivers are major eastward flowing tributaries of the Bighorn River, which in turn is a major tributary of the Yellowstone. So all those head over to the Gulf of Mexico. Now, the Platte River is the second greatest contributor to the Missouri. Okay, now, when I was up there this week, Zeb, when we go from Island Park and Henry's Lake area, we go up over a hill, and right on the top of that is the border between Montana and Idaho.
Right.
And that's where the Continental Divide is. Mm-hmm. And it's always amazed me that everything before we get to the top flows to the Columbia, and everything on the other side flows to the Missouri.
Really?
Just from that place, the Continental Divide.
And that's really one of the most amazing things, not only of this country, but of this world.
Yeah.
The way the confluence of the rivers and everything, and the gravitational forces, etc. Well, look at you. You're still able to sit in that chair.
I know. It's amazing. Okay, so now that's on the east side of the Continental Divide. Okay, now we're going to talk about the west side. So west of the divide from the source of the Yellowstone is the source of the Snake River, which curves kind of westward, then drops southward to form Jackson Lake, which is just north of Jackson Hole, and it continues along the Tetons. Then it kind of heads westward through a canyon and emerges on the west side of these mountains, and that's where the Palisades Reservoir is.
Right.
So
that's an amazing place.
It is. It really is a huge reservoir. And then the Snake River, of course, flows right down past us, right here where we're sitting, across south central Idaho in this big arc, and then what amazes me is it heads north up to where it joins into the Columbia, up by Lewiston, up that area.
Yeah.
And it always seems a little strange to me that the river flows, to me, that's up.
Yep.
Up to the Colorado, or the Columbia. So,
but what are we but mere mortals?
I know, we don't understand that. So the Snake River is through Hell's Canyon and up to where joins the Columbia.
Have you ever thought about taking a float trip on all of that?
I have wanted. My bucket list is to do a jet boat trip in Hell's Canyon.
We ought to do the jet boat together and then do the broadcast.
That would be fun.
Woo!
I think I'd be hanging on pretty tight. So now back to Jackson Hole. Okay, that's part of the upper Snake River Valley, which lies at the eastern side of the Teton Range.
Right.
And it's one of the largest enclosed valleys in the Rocky Mountains. And I hadn't thought of this, but it's actually about 60 miles north to south and about 12 miles wide to the Yellowstone Plateau. So it's a big, huge valley. It's
I didn't know that.
Not just this little town of Jackson Hole.
Yeah.
So
I love Jackson Hole.
Oh, it's a fun place, but again, it's bounded on the west by the Teton.
You got to go eat at Bubba's.
There's a lot of fun things to do over there. So now Jackson Hole originally was called Jackson's Hole or Jackson's Big Hole, and it was named in 1829 for one of the partners of the Rocky Mountain Fur Company. Now, to the trapper, a hole, quote, is a sizable valley, usually with game, ideally suited for camping. So there was Brown's Hole, there was Pierre's Hole, Gardner's Hole, and of course Jackson's Hole.
Why is it sometimes you hear people refer to it as Jackson, Wyoming, and others refer to it as Jackson Hole, Wyoming?
That's a good question. To me, it's always Jackson Hole.
Yeah.
So Jackson, to me, is not quite right. Now, there are about 9 groups of people that went through Jackson Hole that were discoverers and trappers. Number 1, in 1807, John Coulter entered Jackson Hole, and he, at sometimes by some historians, has been credited with the discovery of Yellowstone Park, and he really was not.
Oh.
There was a guy named Daniel Potts that actually was the main explorer of Yellowstone Park.
I didn't know that.
Now, Coulter had been a member of the Lewis and Clark expedition, and John Coulter is the one that was captured by Indians and was turned loose to run, and the Indians were chasing him. They gave him a little head start. Do you remember that story?
I do. You had that on here one time.
Right. It's called Coulter's Run. It's actually a movie a long time ago.
Yeah.
And he actually outdistanced all the Indians and made it to the Madison River, where he hid in a beaver dam while the Indians kept looking for him, and he actually was able to escape, where his partner had been killed. But
so a lot of the movies, like A Man Called Horse and all that kind of stuff, they are based on a lot of
true
historical
stories,
fact. Yeah.
So that was number 1. Number 2, in the spring of 1811, John Hoback, Edward Robinson, and a guy named Jacob Resner entered Jackson Hole through Teton Pass.
I've heard of his name.
Yeah. And they left through what they call Togety Pass, having come up through the Snake River. And folks, if you want to hear their story, I told that story on August 18th of 2015. So go back to my podcast, and on August 18th of 2015, you'll hear the story of those 3 guys and their adventures and the difficult times that they had. So
that was a good plug.
Yeah, and so go back and listen to that story, because that'll give you some more insight into this.
Okay.
But anyway, in the spring of 1810, these 3 guys, Kentuckians, they were employees of the St. Louis, Missouri Fur Company, and they accompanied Andrew Henry's expedition. So Henry and others of his command probably trapped and hunted in the Jackson Hole area. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3, in the fall of 1811, the important Astorian expedition, guided by these 3 guys, Hoback, Robinson, and Resner, entered Jackson Hole by way of Hoback Canyon. And maybe that's where these names sound familiar.
Yeah.
Because Hoback and Resner, they named some of the passes.
But didn't you mention the Astorian? What did you say you called that?
The Astorian expedition.
Wasn't that based upon a guy by the name of John Astor that was out here years previous?
He was not out here. John Jacob Astor.
He was the financier.
Right.
Ah.
Yeah. So, and in fact, I'm going to talk about him. In 1808, John Jacob Astor from the state of New York created the American Fur Company.
I see.
Okay, now this is the most ambitious of his schemes, and he wanted to establish a trading post at the mouth of the Columbia River.
Gotcha.
Okay, and we have talked about that. And he wanted to exploit the wealth of the northwestern wilderness to promote this enterprise. Astor organized the Pacific Fur Company, and here's where it gets interesting. He sent out 2 expeditions, one of which went by sea around Cape Horn, while others were to proceed overland along the route of Lewis and Clark. And both of them ultimately got there after some really difficult times.
The one around Cape Horn you had a story on one time, and you said it took like, what, 5 or 6 months?
Yeah, it took a long time. And can you imagine going the tip of South America? That weather had to be terrible.
Oh, my.
But anyway, Astoria, the town, became pretty significant as the first organized occupation of Oregon Territory. Now, the overland Astorians, they had a rough time. They followed the Lewis and Clark Trail, but in 1811, the Overland Party, under the command of Wilson Price Hunt of New Jersey, left St. Louis. They came up the Missouri River, and on May 26th, they hooked up with these 3 guys, Hoback, Robinson, and Resner. They were actually heading home, but they talked him into coming back with them as guides, which they shouldn't have done.
No, because they never made it.
They never made it. So here we have an expedition of 82 horses, 62 men, an Indian woman with her 2 children, belonging to the interpreter Pierre Dorion. Now, here's another exciting story. Pierre Dorian's wife and 2 kids, she ended up doing an amazing thing of surviving and walking clear over to the Columbia River by herself.
By herself?
With her 2 kids.
With 2 kids?
Yeah. But anyway...
Parents, don't ever complain about your kids yelling in the back seat of the car.
You know, that's a whole nother story, and I'll probably tell that one of these days.
Can I back up about the hunt?
Yeah, the Wilson Price Hunt.
If you got time, we only got 4 minutes left, but wasn't that part of the Hunt Massacre?
No. The Wilson Price Hunt group came right through here, and the Cauldron Lynn over here on the Snake
They're the
River,
ones that drowned over here.
Right. They lost one of their guys.
Oh, yeah.
A guy by the name of Antoine Clapier.
Yeah.
He went through the Cauldron Lynn, and they never found him again.
Well, he's still there.
He's still there somewhere.
He's treading a lot of water.
Yeah. But the main body of the Wilson Price, they continued on and eventually finally made it. Now, the 4th group, there were 7, in the fall of 1812, there were 7 returning Astorians that came. They'd made it to Astoria. Now they're coming back, and they actually went through Jackson Hole as well.
Really?
So that's another group. Number 5, in 1819, Donald McKenzie of the Northwest Company came into Jackson Hole in the course of the first Snake Country expedition, and became the first British agent in this territory.
How many people did they send on various expeditions, like maybe the Hunts or the...
Well, the ones there was only, 82 people? Or 62 people. Not very... I mean... relatively not a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know. Now, the 6th group, in the autumn of 1824, there were, this may answer it, 7 American fur trappers led by Jedediah Smith kind of rediscovered Jackson Hole, and they came in by Hoback and departed by Conant Pass, and they were the vanguard of the Rocky Mountain Fur Company. Now, the Rocky Mountain Fur Company in 1822 was headed by General Ashley and Major Henry, and they were headed in this area, and they ended up actually discovering the Green River area, and they actually had some pretty important guys with them. Jim Bridger, Thomas Fitzpatrick, Jedediah Smith, William Sublett, David Jackson, and these guys were just teenagers. They were just young green mountain men at this time.
Wow.
And, of course, became very important. Okay, I know we're about out of time, Zeb. In 1825, Jim Bridger and Tom Fitzpatrick, with 30 trappers, they followed Jedediah Smith's route into Jackson Hole, coming up the Snake River into Yellowstone Park. And in 1824, General Ashley, journeying west, he explored the lower Green River area. The 8th group was 1826. William Sublett, James Beckworth. They crossed Lower Jackson Hole to Green River. And Daniel Potts, the first guy to really discover Yellowstone Park. And then the rendezvous of 1826 actually took place near the Great Salt Lake.
Really?
So, and there was another one in Bear Lake, different places. And the 9th group in the summer of 1829, William Sublett led his company up the valley of the Wind River, across Togety Pass, and at Jackson Lake, he joined his partner, and they again met at Jackson's Hole, and that's when Jackson Hole kind of got its name.
We're out of time, but I want to just ask you this. Could next week we talk about what happened just exactly 3/4 of a mile north of me?
The Wilson Price Hunt Company.
Let's talk about that.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
I want to do that.
Because like I say, Pierre Dorian's wife, her story in itself is an amazing survival story.
Absolutely.
So, yeah,
you did it again. It's good to have you back from your fishing trip that you didn't go fishing.
That's true.
Okay. Dr. History every Tuesday right here on Zeb at the Ranch. We appreciate it. And real quick, before he leaves and before I have to send it back over to the studio, don't forget the 2019 4th of July schedule of events over in Rupert. My goodness, with the theme this year, celebrating Independence Day the Rupert way, with the Grand Marshals, Dean and Linda Cameron. And all the activity starts on Saturday, June 29th, with the Christmas lighting breakfast on the square in Rupert. And then it continues all through the week. I mean, food, lots of food booths, music, great music, and all kinds of fun, mutton busting, the firecracker lawnmower racers. Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. Don't miss a minute of it. The 2019 4th of July schedule of events celebrating Independence Day the Rupert way. Put it on your calendar. Be in Rupert for the 4th of July. Right now we're going to send it over to our main studio. We'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
On my program, I am very, very blessed to have established relationships with many, many people with many different fields of endeavor. And this next man that's on our program is a nationally recognized expert on foreign policy and energy, and he's an author, written so many books, and just a really all-around good person, and I can't wait to get him on the show this morning. Good morning, Dan Perkins. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, and thank you for having me on.
Dan, I got to tell you, to start our conversation off this morning, I look at the news, listen to the news with a lot of trepidation because I'm seeing some of the same problems that are rearing its head again with Iran that got us into Iraq, Afghanistan, etc. And I see and hear kind of a sucking sound of being sucked up into another major, enormous debacle with a war with Iran. Am I wrong or am I right?
Well, I don't think anybody knows for sure. However, since you're asking my opinion, I don't think either side wants war. Because the odds in a war would be heavily stacked against Iran, because we would come in with a coalition of most of the other Middle Eastern nations, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Egypt, on and on and on, and Israel. And so that's not a war that they could win. Understand that we don't get much press on how bad things are in that country. We have a 60% decline in the value of their currency in 12 months. We have virtually almost all of their export oil that legally could be exported has been shut down, so that anything they're selling on the black market. They've got, last year, had over 25 protests throughout the country with the people rebelling against the mullahs and the imams who are the control of the government. The military is kind of sitting on its hands at the moment, And I don't think that either party, the U.S. or Iran, wants a war, because I think Iran would realize that we don't need to put boots on the ground. We don't need to invade that country to do very specific damage to that country that could destroy its government. There was a report yesterday that came out and said, and it didn't use these words, but it's basically what they said. It was understood that if the Iranian military attacked any American ship, and depending upon how it was attacked, if it was attacked by a missile, we would respond by destroying the silo. If it was done by an airplane, we would respond by destroying the air base. So that it's tit for tat, except they can't destroy much of ours. So it's not a battle or a war that they could win. And the people of the country would rebel so dramatically that the government could be more quickly overthrown than they think is possible today. So Iran may be being blusterous in its rhetoric. It doesn't want any kind of a armed conflict, because they know they can't win that. And so they can puff out their chest and ruffle their feathers. But in practical reality, they know it's not going to happen. There is no need, in my opinion, to put American troops on the ground. This is where I disagree with the general last week, that he basically spoke out of turn, because we don't need to put massive amounts of troops on the ground to have an engagement to destroy Iran. We don't need to do that. We can do that with air power, with missiles and airplanes. And so the president announced late yesterday, early this morning, that they are going to send 1,000 more troops to different stations within the Middle East. But in reality, Zeb, 1,000 people don't mean squat. They can't do anything with 1,000 people. I mean, it sounds like it's crazy to say that, but it's true. So I think what you've got, and I've said this yesterday on a show, what you have is the American news media trying to create a war when there isn't a need for a war. And both sides know that, and both sides understand that the American media is the force behind what's going on. The European media is not pushing for a war. They don't want to do that, because many European countries who had corporations that were doing business with Iran, the companies have pulled out. So there's a diminishing value of a relationship between the European nations in Iran. So they're out there by themselves. They don't like the idea of being out there alone.
All that being said, though, Dan, and I don't mean to beat this point into oblivion, but when you look at them being the antagonists, you look at them with the hostages, you look at them with the warlike movements of bombing certain ships or putting exploding devices in the water to hurt the oil tankers and blow up the movement going through the Straits of Hormuz, how much does any country take against this bullying attitude before there's a response?
Well, I think it's important for your audience to understand that I wrote a piece that's available on Clash Daily. It's called The New Sultan of Oil. And the Sultan of Oil used to be in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia controlled the world oil markets and, in turn, controlled the world economies. They no longer can do that. So, and I'm not being flippant by what I'm saying. It doesn't make a whit of difference to us whether the Straits of Hormuz are open or closed, because we don't need any of that oil. We are not only energy independent, we are, in fact, shipping oil around the world. So what you have to do is you have to look at the reliability of this story as it's manifested in the oil markets. As of last Friday, the close after this week of tension, the price of crude oil was lower than it was the previous Friday. So the oil markets are telling you there's not going to be a problem. If we had a situation when we were not energy independent, and we had at one time under Jimmy Carter depended on 65% of our energy needs were supplied by OPEC, if that situation were still in play and this event happened in the Gulf like it did last week, oil prices would have moved not $1 to $2, but they would have moved $10 to $20 and continue to move higher. But it's a non-event to us, and the world oil markets see it as a non-event because any disruptions of oil being shipped out of the Middle East can be quickly absorbed by increased production in the United States.
Dan, do you look at a lot of these happenings, if you will, around the globe, be it Iran or any other problems with North Korea, etc., as a kind of a formulated plan to stretch and thin out the availability of American troops and basically put us at all points on the compass when we don't have the manpower to really do a great job in more than one location? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's a great question. I don't think so. I think that the answer to your question is that Barack Hussein Obama did that for us by his dramatic cutting of the American military force to pre-World War II levels. We don't have the same amount of manpower that we used to have, so that our forces are being stretched, but Trump is beginning to ask the question, do we need 50,000 forces in Japan? Do we need another 50,000 in Germany? And if so, if we don't need them, then let's either bring them home or redeploy them in another way.
You know, when I look at the situation of leadership, I am very concerned about the Democrats and the upcoming 2020 election. I don't see anybody with spine or backbone. And then I look on the other side, and I look at some of the people that are guiding Trump, if you will, be it Mike Pompeo or John Bolton. They, to me, sometimes seem a little hawkish to the point where war is always the answer or a conflagration is always the answer, and I think you got to have kind of a mellowing of both sides. Do you agree?
Well, with all due respect to you, because I've enjoyed being on your show for the several years that I've been on it, I don't know that I totally agree with you. I think what we have is we have a leader, the president, who has clearly laid out what his philosophy is in dealing with other people around the world, and that Bolton and Pompeo understand what the president wants, they understand his language, and they are reinforcing what the president is saying to the rest of the world. Now, some would say that the trade situation with China or the trade situation with Mexico on the tariffs were reprehensible and were short of almost a declaration of war. Well, I don't see it that way, and clearly the Mexican government, at least for now, doesn't see it that way. In 4 days, they decided they needed that 30% of their GDP to continue to be able to export to the United States. And so what's happened is there's a different. It's not bombs, airplanes, and aircraft carriers that are weapons. The weapons today are tariffs, and the tariffs need to change to a more level and flat playing field all over the world. What I've been saying to people is you need to think of the discussions that Donald Trump is having with China, that he is a surrogate for the rest of the world. If he is successful in renegotiating trade barriers and trade tariffs with the Chinese, I believe the rest of the world will go knocking at China's door asking for the same thing. And so what's going to happen is that trade, that ability to sell goods and services that are derived from your economy to another economy, is an incredibly powerful weapon, and Mr. Trump seems to be adept at using them.
Very well stated, and I'll buy that 100%. Thank you, Dan. Another quick question I want to throw at you this morning, and you study this every day, but when you look at the field of 27 or 28 Democrats that have thrown their hat in the respective ring to be the nominee for the Democratic ticket, none of them, in my opinion, A, has the ability, B, has the backbone, or C, the knowledge and intellect to stand up to the world's leaders like Trump has. My question is, when you hear about the polling showing that Biden's ahead of Trump by 10, or Sanders is ahead of Trump by 9%, whatever, how in the world can America even think about switching horses right now going into 2020 with what Trump has done and what he wants to do?
Well, that's a really, really keen observation. And I'm not trying to be flippant with you. I say to you, remember the source. The source is the news media that 93% of the time has never had something positive to say about Donald Trump. They desperately would like to have him defeated. And I believe that I don't know what could happen that would change that, but I don't see Mr. Trump being defeated. I'm more focused on how big his victory is going to be. The bigger his victory is, the more he destroys the Democratic candidate for the presidency, the more he gains power and influence with the American people. I hear him saying he's looking at opening offices in Washington and Oregon, and maybe even California. So the Democrats haven't done anything. What has Joe Biden said that would inspire the American people to want to support him? President Trump is going to announce his re-election campaign tonight. And between inside the arena and outside, they're expecting 100,000 people to want to participate in that event. They want to participate in the history of the president announcing his bid for re-election. And the Democratic candidates who are actively campaigning in Iowa get 10, 20, 50, 100 people to come to their issues over the weekend. And this is very important, Seth. This is the balance to the story that you heard. There were a series of protests around the nation this past weekend by organizers to create a protest in favor of impeaching Donald Trump. The largest turnout at any event was less than 50 people.
Oh, my.
The Democrats do not understand that the American people do not want Mr. Trump impeached because there isn't a basis to impeach him. But you know what, Zeb? They don't really care.
Yeah.
They really don't care. It's something that they feel, regardless if they go down and they crash and burn and they lose every frickin' office in the government, that's okay because they're fighting for what they believe in.
Yep.
They're not questioning whether or not what they believe in is the right thing to believe in.
Absolutely. Dan, I've only got a couple of minutes left. I've got a caller that's been on hold. Sure. Caller, I'm going to ask you quickly to state your case. We'll be right with Mr. Perkins. Go ahead, please.
Well, in 2016, when they elected Donald J. Trump, the shudder was felt around the world. When Donald J. Trump does anything, the elites are scared to death. He's rewriting trade. He's rewriting how to govern. He's rewriting how to, enact your military. It's unbelievable. Sure, the global elites, the American elites, are going to do everything they can to keep control, and slowly but surely, they are losing control. And it's pure desperation. And, but you never can underestimate a population that is dumbed down who might fall for it. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller, if you would, please, Dan.
I agree. We talked about yesterday on the news was about all the polling data that showed Pocahontas ahead of Donald Trump. Bull crap. It's biased. I've been there before, Zeb. I was there in 2015 when all the polling data said that Hillary was going to win in a landslide. Except there were two polling organizations that I followed the whole time who went the other way consistently. That was Rasmussen and the LA Times tracking poll. None of them had Hillary winning at all. So these people desperately need something to hang their hats on. And I really believe that they have lost any rational thought. I mean, Zeb, you're a media guy. You have to say to yourself, wait a minute, who was the person who scheduled the Democratic debate over 2 nights in prime time, and the first night put the losers on first, and they put the lead candidates on the second night? If the first night is as bad as I think it's going to be, who the hell wants to watch night 2?
You know, Dan, I'm laughing because we were just talking about that before the program this morning, so you're spot on, believe me. I wished I had more time because there's so many other issues I want to talk to you about. I'm going to be in touch with you to reschedule at a very soon date in the future, so please bear with me. Sure. Nationally recognized expert on foreign policy and energy, great author with his trilogy, The Brotherhood of the Red Nile. Listen, man, I really appreciate you. God bless and have a wonderful week.
Same to you, sir. I look forward to our next talk.
Thank you. Dan Perkins, one of the real interesting and informative guests on this program. Dan lives down in Florida, and he knows, and I want to get a report from him in the next couple of days regarding the turnout for the Trump rally and what it was really like. He'll be an expert on that. You can guarantee it. I'm late, way late. I've got to get a weather forecast on here really fast. Wheels is over there chomping on the bit. Scarrows Meats is the sponsor of our weather for this hour, and they're located at 331 North Road, Jerome. You can go to their website, check it out. ScarrowsMeats.com. All the delicious meats for your family reunions, your company picnics, whatever. They've got it all for you at Scarrows Meats. All the breakfast sausages and the bratwurst and the bacons and the tri-tips. Oh, my goodness. Great, delicious meat from Scarrows Meats. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It's going to be another sunny day for this Tuesday. Here's a look at your weather forecast. And yes, sunshine all day long. We are expecting a high of 83, slightly breezy winds out of the southwest, right around 8 miles an hour. It's going to be picking up this afternoon, and winds could gust as high as 24 miles an hour. By tonight, nice and clear with a low of 54. Tomorrow, sunny skies. Wind is going to be the factor, with a west to southwest wind at about 20 miles an hour, gusts as high as 30-plus miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 79. For tomorrow night, mostly clear skies with a low of 48. By Thursday, again, sunny skies, still going to be breezy, expecting a high of 68. And by Friday, sunny and 66. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebed's Morning.
I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you. Brought to you by Don Scarrow, our dear friend, and Scarrow's Meats at 331 North Road, Jerome. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. We've got a bunch of home run hitters tomorrow on the program. Dave Beagle from Indianapolis, Indiana. And we've got the Old Fishing Hole, sponsored by Sportsman's Warehouse. We've got attorneys on with the Pacific Legal Foundation. Boy, have we got a full plate tomorrow. You do not want to miss the subject matter. It's going to be really, really interesting. I want to remind you, too, about our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And it's no secret that they have all the tires you need for safe driving. Absolutely. For your car, pickup, SUV, horse trailer, boat trailer, camp trailer, whatever. They've got the tires for your safe driving on your vacation. Stop in and see them today, many of which are on sale, and you can save a lot of money. And don't forget to check out, too, the best in brake service with highly trained brake technicians and, of course, front-end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries, and 7 locations to serve you. Serve serve you and get you back on the road. Lane in Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike in Buell, Mike in Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley. You better believe it the best. Your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Woo! Busy program. Enjoyed. And thank you for all your calls and comments. You're the greatest audience in the world. And we're going to be back tomorrow morning at 8:06 and ride the horse again for 3 hours right here on Zeb at the Ranch. And remember, we always end the program by saying the way things were are the way things ought to be. And the world needs more cowboys. Until tomorrow morning at 8:06, God bless you and your family. Wheels, you have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow morning.